What are the most scenic drives between Auckland to the Coromandel Peninsula? Where do you find those hidden scenic places to stop? In this video, I'll provide you with 3 different driving routes with highlights you don't want to miss. My name is Michael. I'm a New Zealand travel designer with over 30 years experience, so let's get started. So let's have a look at the traditional route between Auckland and the Coromandel Peninsula, the eastern part. So we're looking here at 175 kilometers or around about 2.5 hours drive. As usually with Google Maps, you will need to add 10 to 15% on driving time. So with this drive, you're heading south from Auckland on State Highway 1, then you have a short stretch on State Highway 2 before going to State Highway 25 and then over on 25A towards the eastern side of the Coromandel Peninsula, 𝗂𝗲 Beach. I recommend the eastern part of the Coromandel, but I'll talk about that in a minute. As most travelers will start in the morning, you will have plenty of time today, so my suggestion is actually a couple of other travel routes which are much more scenic, so let's dive into it. So with this first alternative scenic route, you're actually traveling through Kawakawa Bay and the Karangahake Gorge. So let's dive into the details. As with the traditional route, you're heading down south on State Highway 1, but you leave State Highway 1 here at the exit with the Auckland Botanic Gardens. It's very much worthwhile checking out this place. It's located right on the road and you get a first impression about New Zealand plants and New Zealand landscapes, so well worth doing. Afterwards you continue towards Clifton, which is here a village just outside Auckland. If you come across the area on a Sunday, it's well worth to stopping at the Clifton Village Farmers Market. So this is only on a Sunday and you can check out here some pictures. By the way, I'll put the links to the maps in the description box below for you to check out. So this is a really classic New Zealand country road and you continue heading towards Kawakawa Beach. Here are some pictures. Again, I like that route because you get a really first glimpse of New Zealand landscape after arriving in Auckland. It's quite refreshing to have a bit of scenery, and that is really just outside the doors of Auckland. Overall, the drive is stated on the Google map as just below 4 hours. As usually, you need to add about 10 to 15%, so calculate at least 4.5 to 5 hours for this one. The distance around about 253 kilometers. So from Kawakawa Bay, you simply continue following the route and you travel along the shoreline here, and there's a couple of places, especially for bird people, you want to be aware about. The first one is the 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗃𝗃 bird sanctuary, the shorebird center. The second one, there's also the 𝗥𝗶𝗃𝗃 wildlife reserve. I think this is worthwhile you're stopping here. Here's some pictures so you get an idea what this area looks like. Famous for the seabirds, here we have the godwits. They coming here seasonal, so there's a bit of information about these birds. They are the pied steel birds, so as you can see, I love my birds. There's a bit of a stand, so you can hide a little bit to watch the birds. And there's a bit of description about the birds, so this is really good for you as an introduction into New Zealand's bird life. Now, after this detour through Kawakawa Bay, which is beautiful, you head back to the main road to SH25 and you continue that. Here, you need to watch out to heading south now towards the Karangahake Gorge. So the Karangahake Gorge is a famous site here in the southern part of the Coromandel Peninsula, and it's rich in history, rich in gold. So let's have a look at some pictures here. So this is the Tourism Coromandel website, and I will link that in the description box below. But as you can see, there are a lot of walks around this area, a lot of history, gold mining from the 1880s, and yeah, this gives you a good kind of an idea what to expect. There are swing bridges, there are some cycle trails, so it's well worth heading into that direction. There are some shafts, some tunnels. Again, I'll link that in the description box below and you can dive in a little bit more. The road gets a bit windy, so you need to be mindful. This is a country road with one lane in one direction. There's a couple of viewpoints you can stop along the way, but you more or less make your way towards the eastern side of the Coromandel. Starting with 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃, a popular holiday spot. You can find accommodation here, but you also could continue north. I personally like the area around 𝗤𝗄𝗃𝗃 Beach. We have not only popular destinations such as 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗃, hot water beach, it's all here, and this would be a good place to have a couple of nights to explore the Coromandel Peninsula. So that's my first scenic route option from Auckland to the Coromandel through Kawakawa Bay and the Karangahake Gorge. So here's my second scenic route option from Auckland to the Coromandel. It's a bit longer. It states here a bit more longer than 4 hours, 260 kilometers. Again, you probably need to expect for this one around about 5.5 hours or so. So be aware of that, it's just longer. The first part is similar. Again, you're getting out of Auckland, heading SH1 and then taking the exit at Auckland Botanic Gardens and traveling through Kawakawa Bay as we gone through before. This time you continue further to the east to Tapu, and in Tapu you turn left towards Thames. So Thames is an old mining town. There were lots of gold mines around in the old days, in the 1880s, etc. It's a great place to stop, to have lunch and just get information. There's an information center as well, so you might want to be aware of that. Here is a gold mining experience. That is maybe something you want to check out a little bit more. So with this gold mining experience, there are set time for tours. I've done it a couple of times with my guests when I was a tour guide. It's a stamper battery, which is basically getting the gold out of the quartz. So they found the gold in shafts, in mining shafts, and then taken them out. And these stamper batteries, you know, hammered through the quartz and got the gold out of the quartz that way. Right, and then you continue further north. It's more or less traveling along shoreline here. You going towards the village of Coromandel Township, which is up north. The key interesting site here is a stunning scenery. You have beautiful viewpoints here in Coromandel Township. It's also an historic village. I highly recommend to spend a bit of time in the area. So you continue now going to the east. Again, as you can see, it's quite a windy road. There's a few hikes and tracks along the way, so this is important. So continue that one, SH25, and you're more or less making your way here towards the east coast here. Matarangi Beach is one of the most beautiful beaches in New Zealand. So stop at Matarangi Beach and really enjoy the scenery here. Have a walk on the beach. As mentioned before, you have a bit of time for that drive from Auckland to the Coromandel, so use it and do not rush through. So again, you would traveling now through towards 𝗤𝗃𝗃𝗃 Beach, which I mentioned before, but you could actually stay in 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃, which is also a major village, major township on the eastern side of the Coromandels. There's a big boat harbor as well, so this is well worth. There's actually a little ferry also, for your information, between that part of 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃 and the other side, which is Cook's Beach. It's only for passengers, so it's not a car ferry. I just want to point out a few really magic places to stay here. You have, as you can see, Lonely Bay Lodge, you have Cook's Cottage. There's a few options here to stay. It's a very popular place in the summer season, so you really need to pre-book months ahead for this kind of area. Over Christmas, a lot of Aucklanders come over here and spending their Christmas holidays. Just be aware of that. Now here's my third scenic route option between Auckland and the Coromandel. As you can see, it's around about 3.5 hours. Again, you need to add a little bit of time, so I would say about 4.5. It's around about 200 kilometers. You would head out Auckland as before, going through Kawakawa and then heading through Thames, and as previously discussed, there's a number of options for you to check out. But what you do here is from heading north and then from Tapu, you're actually going on the Tapu Coroglen road, which is a really interesting one because it's super windy, so you really need to be aware of that. And if you kind of not quite sure about your driving skills, you might want to leave that road out. But it's actually a really good connection between the western side of the Coromandel and the eastern side. You need some time, and I would not approach this road in bad weather conditions. But there's a couple of places I really like. I've stopped there in my former days as a tour guide. At the water gardens, let's have a quick look. So these are the 𝗧𝗏𝗃 water gardens. It's just a magic little spot with, as the name suggests, lots of water around. But you can do a walk here and just relax and enjoy that peaceful environment. The next place you want to check out, or you must check out, is the square kauri. So the kauri tree was one of the key economic drivers for the Coromandel Peninsula last century. The kauri is one of the oldest trees in the world, and they were significantly logged in those days, and there's hardly any big ones left. But this is a beautiful little walk. You can walk towards the kauri. So as you can see, here's the road. It's only about 10 minutes walk. You stop your car obviously and then walk up there, and it's a magnificent place, and it's a magnificent sight actually seeing those huge trees. Again, the Coromandel is famous for some of those big kauri trees still in existence. So continue this very windy road. It's partly unsealed, or most part actually unsealed, so you need to be a confident driver, as I mentioned before. But once you're heading over there, once you're getting through these windy bits, you have a really good connection over to the eastern side of the Coromandel, and as mentioned before, either heading over to 𝗏𝗏𝗃 or to Cook's Beach, which is next door basically, over here, Cook's Beach, or you head over to Whitianga. One thing I want to point out, and I will put it into the description box below, is the hot water beach. So the hot water beach is one of the key attractions here over on the eastern side. At low tide, you can dig yourself a kind of a hole, a bath in the sand, and enjoy hot water coming straight out of the beach. So as many places in New Zealand, there's a lot of volcanic and tectonic activity underground, so that's the reason there are some hot springs coming up from the beach. I will put also a link to the tide table, because if you arrive at the wrong time, you would have high tide and then you can't dig in really, so you have to arrive, you have to do this at low tide. Apart from that, it's a stunning area to have a swim. That's Cathedral Cove. At the time of recording, this was closed, but we all hope it will be open by the end of 2024. As a summary, whatever scenic drive between Auckland and the Coromandel you select, I guarantee you will be rewarded with some classic New Zealand landscapes. As always, take your time, have plenty of stops and discover places. Check out my other New Zealand road trip video in the playlist listed. Also download the New Zealand travel planning sheet, which will help you greatly when setting up your holiday. See you in the next video.